Hey everybody. Now, for those of you who missed me on Twitter, I did this video already today. And basically, for those of you who don't know, or for those of you who have this problem, um, I don't even know where to start. I'm so annoyed with it. Basically, what happened was if you have iMovie and you use the iMovie with the camera, the FaceTime camera, to record your videos. When you stop the video, if you immediately, after you stop it, hit the red close the screen button or whatever, it like doesn't transfer the video and your video's gone. So, I am going to try to not do that anymore because that really pissed me off today. But who cares? Today we are doing my favorite reads of 2017. And because I read a lot of books, and for the most part, the books I read are kind of small, instead of doing my favorite books, I'm going to do my favorite authors of this year, because if I like a book, I will read every book I could get my hands on of an author until they bore me. So, I figured we should start with that. So, right off the bat, before we get too far into this, my stacks are all messed up now. I want to throw out some honorable mentions. I read a few Arthur C. Clarke books this year. They were amazing. I didn't read a lot of them. I think I read 3. So, Arthur C. Clarke. This is Childhood's End, by the way. It was really good. And Kurt Vonnegut. I didn't read this book, but I read 3 books of his that were rereads, and they're still amazing. Actually, I think I read 4. Yeah, I read 4 Vonnegut books this year. So, still good. I was really hoping to get to like Hocus Pocus and Timequake, and Look at the Birdie, like stuff of his that I haven't read, and I just didn't get to it. Oh my gosh, look at my hair. So that was another honorable mention. And then I guess Dashiell Hammett, Continental Op, I really enjoyed. I read 4 of his books. I read this. I read The Glass Key, Maltese Falcon, and Red Harvest. And I didn't really like Glass Key, but I'm going to give it another go because I think I might have been in a funk when I read that. So just nothing was great. And then finally, these were both ebooks, so I'll hopefully remember to put a picture up or something. Murakami, the first 2 Murakami books, Hear the Wind Sing and Pinball, 1973. These are a part of the Rat trilogy, although I think there's actually 4 Rat books. I was going to read Wild Sheep Chase, I think is what it's called, which is the next book, and I just didn't get to it. But the 2 Murakami books made me feel emotions, and I don't like to feel when I'm reading. So that was weird. I think that's it on actual Yeah. Okay, I think that's it. So, I guess we could start with Mickey Spillane. Um, I didn't read this one, obviously. Well, not obviously, but yeah. But I read five Mike Hammer books this year, and um, I was gonna read The Killing Man as well this year, but then Christmas came and I got a bunch of cool ass books, so I didn't. But basically, all the books from 49, I can't remember if this is 47 or 49, but from the 40s to 1970, all the Mike Hammer books I've read. And then the next one is The Killing Man, which I think was 89. Um, so I'm really like looking forward to seeing how different Mike Hammer is. I just haven't got to it yet. So that was Mike Hammer or Mickey Spillane. Let me see here. What else? Okay, Mickey Spillane was five. So that takes us to oh, James Herbert. I never read James Herbert before, and I read five books of his this year. I read all four of the Rat books. Wow, two Rat series already. And I read The Fog. The Fog I wasn't into. But again, I think it was where I was at. I was kind of down when I was reading that. But the Rat books, shit, did I forget it again? It's The Rats, Lair, Domain, I think, and The City. The City is a graphic novel. It's very like heavy metal looking. Not like the magazine, but like 80s heavy metal looking. Um, but those books were so good. I felt like they got a little worse for wear as the series went on, but they were still really, really good. Um, so that was like a big kind of like find this year. So that was really cool to stumble upon him. Um, and so those were the five book category people. And then William S. Burroughs. I read six of his books this year. And let me think. It was The Hippos Were Boiled in Their Tanks, Junkie, Queer, Naked Lunch, The Yage Letters, and Soft Machine. Um, Everything before Soft Machine and the Nova trilogy, um, I think is really good. Like, Hippos Are Boiled in Their Tanks, he wrote with Jack Kerouac. It was way better than I thought it would be, but then I thought it was going to be shit, so maybe that kind of jostled my expectations. But Junkie and Queer, I thought were so good, and the Yage Letters, I think, is really good to read after you read Queer. Um, and if you read Queer right after you read Junkie, like I just think that's such a great little trilogy bit right there. And Naked Lunch is awesome and weird because it's Naked Lunch. But I think what my problem was with the Soft Machine this time was that when I read the Nova trilogy when I was in high school, I wasn't aware of the cut up method and how he put his manuscripts together. And so by the time I started reading Soft Machine, all I could think about was where it was cut and what this was originally attached to. And I couldn't get that out of my head. So the reading experience of it from a story point of view was really, really weak. And I was very unhappy with that. So But it's weird because I remember when I was in high school, like the Soft Machine, the Ticket That Exploded, Nova Express, I thought they were fucking cool as shit. And I'm like, oh my god, these books are so weird, man. Um, but yeah, so like this year coming, if I feel like I can like get get in those books without thinking about that, I think I will do it. Um, then Charles Bukowski. Um, I read 7 Bukowski books this year. I read the 5 Henry Chininsky books. So Ham on Rye, Factotum, Post Office, Women, and Hollywood. And then I also read the Notes of a Dirty Old Man and More Notes of a Dirty Old Man that were articles that he wrote for Open City, which was like a LA, um, like almost like an anti newspaper kind of thing. Um, but the short story things, like most of that stuff was like early versions of what those 5 Chininsky books would be. So that part was cool, like going, oh, okay, I can see where this comes from, because you'll get little bits that you don't get in the novel. And so it's like a little like window into his head. And so it's cool, but it's not great. And then I started trying to read his poetry, and I tried 2 different books. I can't remember even what they were, but I like his Chininsky stories. And this year coming up, I want to read Pulp, which was his only novel that wasn't a Chininsky novel. That it's kind of like a hard-boiled detective kind of thing, and I love that genre anyway. But I've heard that that book is real shit. So I've been kind of afraid to go to it, but I think this year I'm going to hit that actually. So that'll be fun. Um, aha. I read 8 Raymond Chandler books this year. 2 of them were new reads. Trouble is My Business and Killer in the Rain. Even though like Trouble is My Business, I've read all those stories. Um, yeah, I'll just say it was like a new read. Killer in the Rain was like a brand new read for me. It was really great. But Lady in the Lake, I found out, if you remember, that this is my favorite book to begin with by him. And Lady in the Lake takes place here where I live now in Big Bear. So that was really, really fun. And um, figuring out the places that he's talking about and all that shit, it was like, it made this book so much more fun, which is weird because I used to live in LA and all of his books take place in LA. And like that was never like, oh my god, this is so cool, I'm like in LA. But for some reason, this, I guess it's just because this was my favorite Philip Marlowe Raymond Chandler book. This looks really beat. I don't remember it being this fucked up looking. But anyway, I love these Penguin versions of these, and I don't have them all, so I'm going to have to get on the ball with that. But yeah, I highly recommend Raymond Chandler, especially if you just want to read amazing, quick, snappy, witty dialogue. It's great. Um, so that was 8. Oh, and then I also read 8 books by John MacDonald. And they were all Travis McGee books. This is actually the first Travis McGee book. I think I'm on book 12 now. But Travis McGee is a guy who is, he's not like a detective, he's like a problem solver. Um, and he's like in and out of retirement. He lives on a houseboat in Florida and just like chills and is very philosophical. And when I was reading his books, the Travis McGee books, over and over again, like one after another, his flowery, MacDonald's flowery prose was really getting on my nerves. But now, after not reading any MacDonald for a while, I actually miss hearing the Travis McGee flowery prose. So, um, I'm really looking forward to getting back into those books this year. And it's hard too because like I follow Travis McGee on Twitter, and so like every day it'll be like quotes from the Travis McGee books, and so I'll like read something, and especially if it's something that I've read already, like from a book I've read already, I just go, oh man, that's some good fucking, that's some nice pretty writing right there, and I get all like kind of emotional about it. Um, but yeah, so those have been great. Let me see. Do I have a 9? No, but I have a 10. So I read 10 Agatha Christie books this year. Ooh, that is very bright, isn't it? There we go. Well, not really. Okay. So this is Endless Night. This was my favorite Agatha Christie read of the year. Definitely, definitely, definitely. If you haven't read this, get it. It's not a Poirot or a Miss Marple or Tuppence or whatever. It's not anybody. It's just a um, awesome fucking book. And this is terrifying. But all the Poirot books I read this year, I really, really liked. I didn't really like the Miss Marple books I read. So I think this year coming up, I'm either going to just read non-series Agatha Christie books or just finish reading the Poirot books that I haven't read yet. So that is my Agatha Christie goal. Carter Brown. I read 7 Carter Brown books this year. One of them was a Danny Boyd mystery. The rest were Al Wheeler mysteries. Out of the 7 of these that I read, the lowest star rating any of them got was a 4. So if you haven't read Carter Brown yet, definitely do so. If you do pick some up and you're done with them, send them to me so I can read them. That would be sick. I'm going to try to finish all the Al Wheeler books next year, and all the Danny Boyds. And then we'll kind of see. Oh, wait, no, there's some Mavis books I haven't read yet. I'll have to try to track those down. There's like 2 I haven't read. So that was that. Um, let's see, who else do we have here? Chandler, Burroughs. Ah, um, well, I'll just go this way because what I want to get is at the bottom of this pile. So I also read this year, um, front to back, and this book is amazing. I have the Big Book of Pulps too, but for some reason this was more hard boiled and just like the kind of fiction that I like the kind of detective stories that I like. And it has like Raymond Chandler, Dashiell Hammett, John D. MacDonald, Horace McCoy, Cornell Woolrich, Carol John Daly. It's got Lester Dent, all sorts of great shit in here. Um, but it was just so fun. And I was basically just picking a story a day and kind of jamming through it, and then some days I would end up doing more than one, but I was just trying to, because at first I was doing it for Tome Topple, and then I just got irritated, and I'm like, okay, like, I want to enjoy this more than I want to, like, speed read it. So I just kind of took my time with it, and it's made me want to get like actual Black Mask magazines from back in the day and read some of those stories as well. So this was a great read. So if you haven't read this, pick it up if you ever come across it, because it's all good. Like, I can't even think if there was one shit story in it. I don't think there was, or else I would have been, damn, there was a shit story in it. No, I'll save this for nonfiction. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so since I've been trying to put this video together, very large, I missed another 7. God damn it. Very large stacks of books have been falling on me. So, I'm very, whatever. So I read 8 Max Allan Collins books, and they were all Quarry books. This is the last Quarry. This is Quarry's Climax. If you haven't, I know I've been saying this, if you haven't read any of the Quarry books, you're totally missing out. They're written very sharp. The dialogue's good. The character's great. It's like a hitman who always ends up trying to solve like a mystery around, like, the only thing he's supposed to do is like show up and shoot some fucker and leave. And he always ends up getting a little more into it than he should. And he's a very endearing character, even though he's a fucking asshole. So I can't wait to get into more of Max Allan Collins. I have that Dick Tracy book. I have True Detective. I have some other books of his, and then I have some of the Mike Hammer books that he's written. So I'd really like to get into those. He's a very, very good storyteller. Like a lot of writers that came from that era, they write sex really weird. Like almost cringy weird. Like it's kind of good, and then it's just, I don't know, like a lot of Max Allan Collins sex scenes remind me of Stephen King's sex scenes, and Stephen King sex scenes make me fucking cringe like nobody's business. I don't know why. So anyway, another writer I read a ton of stuff of this year was Tom King, who is writing the main Batman title right now. And I have a bunch of the books right here, so however many this is. But we have Rooftops to I Am Bane, which was, here, I'll just kind of show you covers if they don't flip. I Am Bane I thought was really good. A lot of people didn't like it. And a lot of people don't like Tom King. And I think one of the reasons is because we went from Scott Snyder's run on Batman to, this one was great. This little one-off with Batman and Swamp Thing. Oh, and then there was this. Marry me. But we went from Scott Snyder, who had an amazing run on Batman, to Tom King with I Am Gotham, the I Am Gotham arc, and that really wasn't amazing. And then we had War Jokes and Riddles, which I loved, and not many people did. I thought this was so fun. It takes place in the beginning of his career, and I need a new number 29. I hate this cover. I want the cover that matches the rest of these. 30. 31, and then the awesome conclusion, Batman number 32. This was great. And then we go into the Joel Jones artwork for Rules of Engagement. Oh my gosh, so flippin' good. And this was great. And then there's the Super Friends arc right now. This was okay. It's actually written really, really well. And I've also read the Double Date one that came out after. Like, how could I not read that like immediately as soon as it came out? So I just have to go get it. Oh, and the annual. The annual made me fucking cry. A Batman comic made tears come down my face. Okay? My wife made fun of me. My daughter made fun of me. Pretty much everybody made fun of me. Yeah, the Batman annual was fucking depressing. It was really good, though. So, if you haven't jumped on any of the Tom King Batman, like, I seriously think I want to stop getting any of the other Batman, or any of the other comics I've been getting, and just get Batman. Because it hasn't let me down once, and that was kind of a stack. I mean, the I Am Gotham was kind of... I Am Suicide got a little bit better. I Am Bane was much better. Okay, so finally, there is an author who I've read 25 books of this year. I'm sure you could guess who it is. And this was the first book I read by him. At the Earth's Core by Edgar Rice Burroughs, with this gorgeous Frazetta cover that I've wanged on about numerous times. This book shows the Edgar Rice Burroughs formula, I guess you could say. And if I would have read Princess of Mars first, this probably would have been my favorite book by him. But I think because this was the first one I read, this is the one that I kind of fell in love with. And the Tarzan books are really good. I read the Castback books. I think I have like 2 more Pellucidar books. And I've read 8 Tarzan books. Right now I'm on Tarzan the Untamed. So, and that's pretty good. So I'll do a more in-depth talk about that at a later date. But if you haven't read any Edgar Rice Burroughs, it's just like a go-to class in writing, like, Pulp Fiction. Like, it is just so good. Like, I don't know. For me, reading as many of his books as I've read and haven't been turned off by one yet, that's pretty fucking big. As far as nonfiction goes, Paperbacks from Hell, OBS, and The Blood and Thunder Guide to Pulp Fiction, OBS. Okay? Obviously. They were both really good. If you don't have these, stop watching this and go get these. One I finished today, which I had no idea was going to be this good, was The Weird Tales Story by Robert Weinberg. This book is a facsimile reprint of a book that came out in the 70s. Some artwork in here. It's got all sorts of stuff. See, got some covers in here. It was just really, really good. And there's Farnsworth Rat. If you have any interest in Weird Tales the magazine, in Pulp Fiction publication, H.P. Lovecraft, Robert E. Howard, mainly. That is definitely a book to pick up. It was great. And now at the end of the year, we only have a couple days left, or like one day left. I have been reading quite a bit because of all the pulpy stuff I've been reading. This is just the dust jacket because my actual book is under the stack of books that was right here before I put all my other books right here. The Black Seas of Infinity. It says the best of Lovecraft. It's not the best. There's a couple things that I really like that were left out of this, but it's a pretty damn good collection. So that's cool. And then I'm also reading some Conan stories. This is not one that I'm reading right now. I'm reading all of the Robert E. Howard stories right now. And yeah, so that's pretty much been the best of this year. That was kind of a big list. But I kind of read a lot of books. Oh, and I also found out that if I don't put, like, that I'm currently reading a book and then say I finished it, it doesn't go into my Goodreads for books that I read for my reading goal. So I have to be on top of that this year. Because sometimes, like, when I'm reading, like, especially, like, these littler books, like, like a, like a Carter Brown book, or, even a Edgar Rice Burroughs book sometimes, or an Agatha Christie, any of these books that are, like, between 120 and 200 pages, like, I'll read them in a day and forget to put them on Goodreads that I'm reading it. Because a lot of times I'll pick up a book and not know that I'm going to read that book. I'll just pick it up and go, huh, okay. And the next thing I know, I'm like halfway through the book. And so all of those books like that I read this year, they're not on my list. Damn it. Zoe said there was a way to fix it, and then I tried to do what she told me to do, and it didn't work. So I'm just kind of saying to hell with it, and I'll just deal with it next year. So if you also just put books in when you are done reading them and not before you start them or while you're reading them, you might have lost some books in your fun little thing. And that's the whole reason why I use Goodreads anyway, just to keep track of what the fuck I'm reading. I think I'm going to do some commonplace books. The concept, how normal people use a commonplace book, is very new to me, which sounds very stupid, I understand that. But I think I'm going to try this year to do that. So let me know if you've read any of these books, if you want to read any of these books, what you read that was really good. If you read anything that you actually think I would like, please let me know. Because the year is starting. And there's a bunch of stuff that I didn't mention that I really liked too. That, like, I only read like one or two books by an author. And I was really trying to just, yeah, whatever. You could watch other of my videos if you want to find out that stuff. So anyway, BookTube, let me know. I might not make another video this year. I might, though. So if not, I will see you next year.